while, and it's been as part of the student handbook for a long time. And this is the part of the code that we review every year when we approve the student handbook.
Right.
So I think that when our attorney looked at it, they basically said you need to make these changes so that the overall code that you have will be in compliance with Massachusetts general laws. It's not a word for word taken or extracted. It's an editorialized type of version of it with legal review.
That's what I wanted to know. It causes me to have many comments.
Well, and again, you know, I'm not sure actually whether we want to do this now as part of the policy update of this, or we want to wait until we do the approval of the student handbook again. I suppose it may not be a bad idea to do it now.
Well, I think
You have concerns.
I have a lot of concerns about it, but continue.
All right, let's finish. Let's go through it, and then when we go to vote, we'll talk about it.
And then maybe we set a separate time.
Well, it's first
to talk
reading.
about it if we
It's
have-
first reading.
If I'm the only one, then I can defer it.
Okay.
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 And so then we move on to section number 4, narcotics, alcoholic beverage, and stimulant drugs. There's a removal of the word knowingly. A student shall not unlawfully manufacture or knowingly possess, use, distribute, dispense, or be under the influence of any alcoholic beverage or any narcotic drug, hallucinogenic drug, amphetamine, barbiturate, marijuana, or any other controlled substance as defined in MGL Chapter 94C, or intoxicant of any kind on school grounds at any time, on or off school grounds, at any school activity, function, or event. So the word knowingly was struck from that first sentence. This next sentence, use of a drug authorized by a medical prescription for the user was added. So it reads, use of a drug authorized by a medical prescription for the user from a registered physician shall not be considered a violation of the regulation. There was clarification that was added. No other changes were indicated under section 4, 5, or 6. Under violations of code, on the next page, there were no changes recommended to teacher's role, administrator's role, but under investigation, there were changes in this first sentence to read as follows. Putting in or the principal's designee, reading, in dealing with an alleged misconduct, the principal or the principal's designee shall investigate the incident. And what was struck from that sentence is, and hear all available accounts of it. And then under investigation, there's a long insertion that has been included and it is titled disciplinary due process. Do you want me to read the entire red section? No. Okay.
I don't think you have to, although, again, this is an addition to the current policy, and again, this came from council and was based on experience that we've had over the last 6 months probably in dealing with these types of situations.
Jerry, I have another question.
Yep.
I know that this has concerned you in the past, and it concerns me also. And we talk about the principal's designee shall investigate the incident, the student shall be offered the opportunity to raise any defense he, she thinks relevant, etc. I've always wondered what the role of the parent is here, and I've always been concerned about students. I'm not saying that our staff or our administrators would bully kids into admitting something, but I'm always concerned about that not having parents involved.
Yeah,
And why aren't parents given the opportunity to be there when their child's being questioned?
And I think this is consistent throughout most school districts where that is not the case. It has been an issue of mine as far as due process is concerned.
Yeah, that's
about
mine too.
having a parent present, particularly if it's something that could result in an expulsion or a long-term suspension.
Or referral to law enforcement.
Or what?
Or law enforcement.
Right,
referral.
for a law
Or a criminal act. So I agree. I mean, this is a very difficult section to be dealing with, and it's always raised concerns, at the time we approved the handbook, and I've always had concerns.
But you say it is
with as well.
consistent with, Superintendent Willis, it is consistent with other school districts?
It is, and the initial investigation is conducted in all of our schools by having a conversation with the students around what occurred. But if you take a look under disciplinary due process, that last sentence, in the event that the principal determines that the student will be suspended from school, the student's parents, guardians will be notified by telephone and in writing.
But that's
But that's
the
subsequent
only time the
to the
parents are
investigation.
notified.
That's correct.
And that's consistent with
That is
state.
consistent with common practice. This disciplinary due process really takes the place of what you see that has been eliminated on the next page and the page thereafter. There's lots of detail that was taken out of the record, if you will, by the attorney regarding long-term suspension, short-term suspension, attendance at hearings, conduct of hearing, disposition of case, the appeal. He really has taken out all of that detail. There was some concern around it not being an appropriate process for the investigation and for holding a hearing. So under this disciplinary due process, it really outlines what the principal's rights are as far as investigating a particular incident, and the appeals process, both for short-term disciplinary sanctions and long-term disciplinary sanctions.
All with citations of Mass General Law.
All with citations of Mass General Law. And if you take a look at the next page, it really details the short-term suspension, indicating who has the authority. Again, under MGL, the principal shall have the authority. And under long-term suspension and expulsion, again, under MGL, the principals shall have the authority. So that's what has been detailed and substituted for the previous language under the regulations included in the policy manual that then was also included in the high school student handbook. Most of it has been eliminated from the record, and you can see that in the next few pages.
And so none of it is, we talk about due process, and by the way, the version we got on our iPads, we don't see any of the corrections, so I don't know what's been removed, but is there something in here about the ability to appeal? Is that up higher, or am I?
It is.
It's under disciplinary due process, the third paragraph.
Appeals.
It outlines the appeals process.
Okay, I see, okay. All right.
I don't think we've eliminated any of the specific rights as far as the appeal process, but it's been codified in a different way.
Okay.
And I think if people want to look at this more closely, one of the things we could do would be to continue this for first reading to a next meeting and give everybody a little bit more time to go over it and review it. I know it's a difficult area. Policy Subcommittee did a good job on getting us to this point.
Yep.
And maybe we can take from this point, and if there are any tweaks or changes that the committee wants to make, they could come in with them at the next meeting.
Well,
But
I'd
I
like-
do think this is a good start.
I'd like to get a hard copy, because on
Yeah.
the version we got, it doesn't show the red line and what was removed.
Right.
So if I get a hard copy
And
of that.
it's a
then-
significant change as far as the suspension process is concerned in particular.
Yep.
But interestingly enough, as we had several hearings in the last probably 4 or 5 months that I sat on with the superintendent, council basically made these recommendations, and I think it kind of brings it more into line with what Mass General Law says and also what our districts are doing. But I agree, there were probably a few little things we might want to take a closer look at.
So I agree with that. I do think there are a couple things worth raising for the committee, potentially,
Go ahead.
that they could think about as they read this when we get a clean copy. One is the intent issue. There's overlap with this policy and our bullying policy, and I would just like to be able to look at that policy versus this, because the bullying policy is around chronic intent that is reckless. And there are some overlaps here. I want to make sure we are consistent in how we apply both policies. Second is that this is a policy, not a protocol, and so this is what's interpreted in the handbook, so I view them as completely separate. So whatever we set as a policy, I think we need to really think about, well, compliance is one issue. We can deal with the compliance issue, but I want to really think about how far we go in punishing students who are protecting themselves from bullies. I'm very concerned about that. The reduction of self-defense out of here and, and intentionality, I can understand that piece of it. But there was a recent case of a child who was defending themselves against a bully who was repeatedly punching them, and that child got suspended. That is something I do not agree with at all.
What's it say in the bullying policy, Karen?
I think in the bullying policy, there is sort of it's a review and investigation, but then the child is not immediately suspended for protecting protecting themselves. I just want to
Right.
clarify that in the
That's-
policy. I'm
that's a-
not sure.
All right, that's a real sensitive area. I
It is a
mean,
very sensitive area, but it
Just go
it
down to
always
Florida and you'll
bothers.
find out how sensitive it is. But it's an area where we have to take a close look at that.
Yeah, I just want to be sure we're applying this consistently, and I also want to make sure that we as a committee agree. I may be in a minority in viewing those students who are victimized. I also want to be respectful of kids who are bully victims, who both bully and are victimized. They're a totally different category of children. And then I just am totally against zero tolerance policies in general, so,
As am I.
as a principal. So I want to just be very sure that we're not doing that
All
here.
right, let's do this. If there's a consensus amongst,
There's a lot of, I mean, at the end of each paragraph, it says may be.
I agree.
It isn't a zero
yeah.
tolerance policy.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, if we're trying to be more compliant and we put maybes in there, what are we doing? So we just need to, I think, I don't know.
Well, I think the policy subcommittee, again, did a good job on this. think
I
there's
do.
an
This is not a
awful-
comment
There's
on
an
the
awful lot
committee at
here. So let's do this, unless there's an objection, we'll continue this to the next meeting for first reading. At that time, anybody that has some comments or changes they want to make, and who knows, after reviewing it more closely, there may not be very much, I don't know.
We can probably add this next week, because we only have right now, we only have the vote on the budget, right?
That's right.
Kathy,
good.
could
No, we
add-
can't?
Well, I'm sure the
Oh, we can add
superintendent will
it, but
have some
I-
things,
there's
other
already a
things
long
as well.
agenda.
Yeah, I'm
Oh,
sure.
there is, oh.
What does
But
that
that's
do
okay.
to the schedule, too?
What's
What
that?
does that do to the handbook schedule?
Oh, right.
Kathy?
We're still okay.
Well, we can keep going with that and come back to this, right? We don't have to do it in complete linear order.
No, but I think if
This
everyone
is out
takes a
of
look
order.
at it, yeah,
This is out of
Yeah,
order.
okay.
This is JC.
okay.
Yeah,
All right,
thank you for indulging me.
okay,
It's
thank you
only-
for your
it's only
input.
Semi out of order.
All right, so we're gonna
We'll look at it next week.
We're going to
Yeah.
continue this for first reading to the next meeting, okay, which is next
Yes.
Monday, all right? So what's more fun, policy or goals? Okay, we're into routine matters, bills and payrolls. Do we have 3 signatures on everything?
Yes.
All right, we have minutes. We have the March 19th, 2012 open session. This was at the, I believe this was at the town meeting.
It was.
And do we have a motion?
So move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mel and a second by Karen to approve the March 19, 2012 open session minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none, motion carries 5-0. We also have the March 26, 2012 executive session.
Michael wasn't here.
I'm sorry, Mike wasn't here?
No.
4-0, with 1 abstention. How about the March 26, 2012 executive session?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mel, second by Karen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in
Excuse me,
favor, please.
I don't think I was present. Was I? I'm listed as present, I believe I was not present at all.
Oh, on
Yeah,
the
you
minutes?
definitely weren't. Good catch. Thank you, Carl.
Okay, we'll amend it by striking Kyle from the,
Oops, sorry, Carl.
And Cindy
I
wasn't
amend,
present.
we amend our motions.
Well,
Okay.
amend, yeah.
all right, we have an amended motion to strike Mr. Nelson's name from appearing as present on the executive session minutes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries 5-0. And then we have the March 26, 2012 open session minutes.
I didn't see anything. Did you see
I didn't
anything?
either. I move to
Okay.
approve March 26th, open session.
Second.
Motion by Mel, second by Karen. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries 5-0. And then finally, the April 9, 2012 open session meeting.
Make a motion to approve the April 9th open session meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by Karen, second by Mel, to approve the April 9, 2012 open session minutes of that meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries 5-0. Bids and donations. We do want to acknowledge a donation made by the North Reading Athletic Boosters Association for 20 junior varsity boys lacrosse uniforms valued at $950 and a new hydrocollator unit for the athletic trainer, value of $285 for a total value of $1,235. Kathy, did you want to comment on that at all?
We'd just like to accept it gratefully.
Okay. And again, we're looking for a motion to accept
So
with
moved.
gratitude.
I'll second it, but I'd like you to tell me what a hydrocollator is.
Well, obviously, it's something that,
It has to do with
that
broccoli
ladies
and
water. I mean, it's got to be something to do
Right,
with
but
water.
I've never heard it.
You know something? I'm embarrassed to admit I'm not sure what it is.
I don't know.
Let's Google it, shall we?
But I seconded
think
the
I did
motion.
earlier.
I'm
Oh,
sure
wait,
it's something we
Superintendent
need.
Willis knows, I
Great.
think.
It is. It's a device that you use to relax a
Whirlpool?
sore muscle.
Oh, okay.
Yeah?
Yes.
Okay.
That's good.
Water.
With water, obviously,
And
it's hydro.
And broccoli.
I figured you'd ask that, Mal. I was trying to slide it by.
Who was the motion?
Who made the motion to accept?
And then,
And I seconded.
Okay.
I made it.
Cliff made it, Mel seconded it, and again, that's great to get, I mean,